This is my audience. I have 2 people that are remote, and then Ashley is going to listen and help us record.
Imagine you grew up your entire life in a large mansion. You have everything you could ever want right at your fingertips. Then one day you are stripped from your home and placed in a house so small it cannot even compare to the one that you lived in before. Your entire life is lived in either violence, mental and emotional abuse, or isolation, and your day-to-day routine is determined by new people who don't understand you. To humans, this would be a terrible experience, yet this is the life of orcas in captivity. A light was shown on orcas in captivity after the release of popular documentary Blackfish, where many people learned of the terrors of orcas living in captivity. Orcas should not be kept in captivity because it negatively affects their physical health, prevents them from engaging in their natural behaviors, and is, of course, ethically wrong. Today we will discuss 3 main points. First, how captivity harms orcas physically. Next, how captivity prevents the natural behaviors of orcas. Then, why keeping orcas in captivity is ethically wrong. As someone who grew up with a love for the large marine animals, I've done a lot of research in my free time on marine mammals, animal welfare, and specifically about whales, orcas, dolphins, and seals. For this speech, the same amount of research and prep was done over the course of a week, the same along with any background knowledge I had prior to. I've gathered information specifically from National Geographic, NOAA Fisheries, and Encyclopedia Britannica to better understand the vast expense of keeping orcas in captivity. A commonly known sentiment is that the enclosure size of orcas in captivities is never big enough. But a lesser known fact is that the vast amount of physical violence and injuries many captive orcas receive when living in captivity. One of the biggest problems in captivity is the prevalence of health issues that are uncommon in the wild. There have been cases of salmonella, staphylococcus, mosquito bone viruses, and fungal infections, all of which they get while in human care. These viruses are usually human transmitted and are rarely ever reported in wild orca populations. Physical deformations are also common in captivity. According to the Whale Sanctuary Project, around 80 to 100% of male orcas in captivity experience dorsal fin collapse, a condition where the fin at the peak of an orca's head falls over to the side instead of standing upright like its female counterparts. This condition is almost never seen in the wild, with scientists reporting less than 1 to 5% in males in wild populations. Orcas' physical violence is also widely increased in captive locations compared to the wild. Many orca pods in captivity experience some form of captive aggression, whether within the pod or towards human trainers. This leads to actions like breaking on orcas that are known as bite marks and severe injuries that come from ramming into each other or ramming into the sides of their concrete tanks. A consequence of the lack of space and dominant struggles that they cannot get rid of due to the small space of their enclosures and the massive size of the animals. National Geographic reports that captive environments can negatively affect an orca's physical well-being, and while many facilities claim that they take excellent care, the physical proof gives professionals all they need to know about the true well-being of these creatures. While the physical effects of captivity place extreme harm on their bodies, these marine mammals' emotional and behavioral well-being is severely impacted as well. Being in captivity also prevents orcas from exhibiting their natural behaviors. Due to the small size of their enclosures, they do not have the same amount of room, water temperature, or ecosystem their bodies are naturally used to. In the wild, orcas can travel up to 100 miles a day. In the ocean, an average orca enclosure measures around 86 feet long by 51 feet wide and only 34 feet deep. This cannot even compare to the amount of space that orcas have in the ocean. This gives them absolutely no room to perform the natural day-to-day swimming behaviors they exhibit in groups. NOAA states that orcas live in complex social groups and tend to stay together for life. Due to the limited space they share and the mix of orcas from different pods, violence is increased, often leading to them being isolated even from the other orcas in the same captivity sites, thus impacting their emotional well-being because their natural behavior is to work together, be close to family, and communicate with each other. By separating or isolating them, it emotionally scars these animals, just like taking a child from its mother or separating a group of siblings. It does psychological damage that can lead to depressive or even aggressive behaviors. The size of captive tank prevents orcas from engaging in their natural hunting and migration, communication, and social interactions. The material size and size of enclosures can disrupt their echolocation and even prevent them from learning how to hunt, since they are usually fed on schedule. Not to mention how stressful the technique of separating orcas from their families is for their emotional well-being. It creates stress and abnormal behaviors that reveal themselves sometimes early or even later in an orca's life. Beyond just the physical and emotional consequences, keeping orcas in captivity has started to raise extreme ethical concerns. You may be wondering, if the physical and emotional consequences aren't enough to not keep orcas in captivity, then what else is there to discuss? Firstly, orcas are highly intelligent creatures. They are known as one of the most intelligent creatures on the planet and have the second largest brain of any marine mammal. And scientists have proven that their emotional, social, and communication abilities are equal to those as a human teenager. They are capable of problem solving and performing complex communication, even creating dialect distinctions within their language. Britannica explains that keeping orcas in confinement limits their freedom and their natural way of life. Everything they do is under strict routine, and most orcas in captivity never learn their natural behaviors because of the extreme focus on performing skills and day-to-day routine like feedings. Some never learn to hunt and do not know different calls and clicks. Using orcas for entertainment puts human enjoyment over their important animal welfare. There is truly no reason to keep them captive. With today's technology, 3D virtual examples can be provided, and scholastic readings and pictures can be displayed at museums or whale-watching locations to truly educate the public about their amazing abilities. Because of the ethical complications of keeping orcas in captivity, many states, countries, and marine parks have either banned or considered banning captive breeding programs due to growing concern. When we take a step back and look at all the evidence presented, it is clear that there is no need to keep orcas in captivity. In conclusion, orcas should not be kept in captivity because it harms their physical health, negatively impacts their emotional well-being, limits their natural behaviors, and violates ethical conditions. First, captivity harms orcas physically through diseases, injuries, conditions, and violence, fostering violent and depressive behaviors that all at the same time. Next, captivity behaviors that are not seen in the wild and limit their natural behaviors, such as hunting, swimming, and group activities. Finally, keeping orcas in captivity is ethically wrong because it directly violates their complex biological and emotional needs. After all the evidence I presented, it is clear that orcas belong in the ocean. If we want to admire and learn about these animals as much as we claim to, we should protect them in their natural habitats. Find out what we can learn from them by watching them naturally, rather than having them perform for our own entertainment. Thank you.